former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich. Here we are, final day. How you feeling?
Listen, I'm feeling great. Let me start by saying everybody listening to us should go to foxnews.com and get Pat Caddell's absolutely amazing article on his analysis of what's happening and why he believes Trump will win on a landslide. You know, Caddell was Jimmy Carter's pollster. There's always been a populist, and his article is as stunning as anything I've read all year long, and sort of confirms my bias, which is that Trump will win tomorrow. But a couple of quick things. You may have already covered this because you certainly know as much or more than I do about these things. I just look around. I look at 538 this morning coming out and saying they believe that Trump will carry Florida. I look at CNN of all places coming out and saying they believe, based on the early voting analysis, that Trump will carry North Carolina. I look at the Denver Post a few minutes ago, which just came out and said that the Republicans passed the Democrats over the weekend in early voting. And I look at the newest poll out of Pennsylvania, which shows Trump up by 1, which may not be enough to overcome vote theft in Philadelphia, but is certainly a remarkable turnaround.
Well, Michigan, too.
2 weeks ago.
And Michigan is in play as well. And, look, you've been the one that's been saying it for weeks. I never believed it. But I'm beginning to believe, especially because of Obamacare in a state like Minnesota, that, and look, they have a history for voting for outsiders, that there's Minnesota may be in play more than we think. Look,
That's right. The state that gave you Jesse Ventura as governor could vote for Donald Trump.
That would be amazing. Let me start with what happened over the weekend and James Comey saying that he had seen no evidence. You know, here's a guy that it took him 270 days to go through 32,000 emails, but he was able to, in record time, review 650,000 new emails in 8 days. It's pretty talented, don't you think?
Oh, you know what makes it funnier? The State Department today said it was going to take them 5 years. 5 years to go through 33,000 emails.
No.
Now, explain to me how the FBI could go through 650,000 in 8 days, and the State Department can't do it can't do 10% of that in less than 5 years.
Look,
I mean, this is an absurdity, and it just shows you that the corruption, you know, as my good friend Randy Evans points out, the corruption is a cancer, and if you don't cut it out, it keeps growing. And we're now seeing how a corrupt Justice Department is beginning to corrupt the FBI, and that's genuinely frightening, because if law enforcement becomes corrupted, you don't have the rule of law.
No, you've lost your country. Let's be honest. And what's fascinating, either one or two people are lying. Either James Comey's lying, or the FBI rank and file are lying, and I'm putting my money that the rank and file is trying to tell us the truth.
Absolutely, and it's sad. I don't know what happened to Comey. I don't know if it was just the sheer pressure from the president and the attorney general, but this whole thing is an absurdity. And by the way, I had several people who you know well, Vince Haley and who wrote, and Ross Worthington, who wrote me a memo the day Comey said they were reopening the case. They wrote me a memo that said, this is a trap, and he will come back on the weekend before the election and announce that everything has been cleared. Now, they wrote me that 8 or 9 days before it happened, and I thought that was pretty remarkably prescient on their part. And their argument was that the whole thing was a setup to try to give Hillary one last boost.
You know, it's really amazing to me. You have sort of very gently, in a sort of big brotherly type way, you know, been chastising me every time I look at the more conventional path to 270 and saying that all bets are off this election. Now, I do think there's a certain amount of conventional behavior that'll take place. I think all of the Romney states will go for Trump. I really believe that, including North Carolina, which is the